You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, and exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, in Disney.
Do you happen to have that other song that I gave you?
You know,
Rick?
I forgot all about that other song, Linda. I forgot all about that.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. I got so many things
You're
happening.
on automatic
You gotta-
pilot.
Well, what you do is you write me during the day. Say, Rick, remember my song? Boy,
Okay,
I tell you.
I'll do that.
So, all right, let me know.
And
next
thank
time.
you. Sure.
All right.
Because
so
you know what? When you start doing something new, you got to do it a few times before it becomes a habit. So no worries. Thank you for.
Well, no. Well, thank you for understanding. It's just that I've got so many songs here. Now, your song, I like that song that we played last week. So yeah, we're gonna
Yeah,
get
that's
rid of. We're gonna get rid of Bob Marley. We're gonna bring the next song on. Yeah, I like that song.
by Misty Mayhem. She's an independent artist. She is amazing. Everybody look up Misty Mayhem. She's amazing.
Well, what I'll do is I'll introduce you as the Pasta Babes coming on here tonight. And then,
Cool.
Then what I'll do is let me go in there. I'll get the song in a few minutes. I'll put it up for you. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so people can hear it because I like the song. I do like the song. So let me get the song, and I'll play the song. But in the meantime, you will say hello to the folks. They're in here waiting for you, Linda.
Okay, could I have a surprise guest join us?
Yes.
Okay, I think I'll do that. So, my buddy Pete, Miss Pete, Mr. XJW Curious, just sent me a text and said, I'm awake and watching if you want a guest. So, let's see here. I'm already in the studio, so it would be you sending him the link when you get a minute. I think that's the way we'll go.
I will do that. Don't you worry. You just talk to the audience. I'll take care of that.
Okay.
Yep.
Hello, everyone out there. This is Apostle Babe Linda James, your favorite apostate. Wanted to say happy Pride Month. This is the month of June. And I know you might be familiar with the Pride flag that the LGBTQ plus community uses. There was a Watchtower, I believe, a few weeks back where it shows somebody leaving his old life behind and putting on that new personality. And they have a pride flag in the background with all these other worldly things. And I just wanted to let you all know that was an upside down pride flag. And I think that was no accident, okay? It will start with the red on top and the purple on the bottom. And also, too, the history with this flag is we adopted it because it had already been associated with inclusion. So it was, that's the history on why we use the pride flag. I know I can remember the days when someone would ask, why would you steal the rainbow, And it wasn't really stealing the rainbow from the Noah's flood situation, but it had originally been a flag for inclusion. So Biden this week and his doctor wife, they celebrated Pride Month, and I thought it was an absolute amazing celebration. They and Biden seemed to be wide awake and having a good time. I mean, I think he might have messed up on one sentence, but for the most part, he was doing pretty good. He was enjoying the celebration. There was tons of people there, and his wife was just so joyous. They had also a guest. I believe I don't remember the person's name, but he was somebody that has recently made a stand for something, and I don't remember what it was, but he was a very poised gentleman, and he carried himself very well. And you could just tell he was so honored to be able to speak at the Watchtower. I mean, not the Watchtower, at the White House. Correct. And, for this celebration, but it was just wonderful. I also wanted to touch a little bit on the. I'm just going to kind of mention a few things that I've been hearing, and just to give a little bit of my viewpoint, and not necessarily that everybody that is in my quote unquote camp or whatever believes the same way I do, but I just wanted to give some views on how I've seen things, and how I've looked things up and did some homework and stuff. Um, I do remember the situation after George Floyd was killed, and I do remember watching the protests. But I also want to take you back to when Rodney. Um, there was somebody that was back in the day in '91. I watched Reginald Denny get taken out of his truck on the corner of Florence and Normandy, and he was a white gentleman, long blonde hair. He was pulled out of his truck, and they beat the holy crap out of him. Earlier that day, it was after this. I can't think of the gentleman's name, but he was he was in a Hyundai. Okay, let me just say a Hyundai, and accused of going high speeds. But let me just tell you, I was driving a Hyundai at that time, and you can't go top speeds in a Hyundai. But anyways, Rodney King, I think that's who it is. Mr. Can we all just get along? Because after his court, what happened was he was beaten up by the cops, but he also had some guests in his car. And what many don't realize is on the backside of that car, there was other policemen beating on those other gentlemen that was in the car with him. But he was accused of going excessive speeds, and he did have a record.
That was Rodney.
They pulled him over. Rodney King?
That was Rodney King.
Okay. Thank you so much. So I can remember my children were little at the time, and I really did not have a concept of what a riot was. I mean, my mother has talked to me about the Watts riots. She grew up in Compton, California, so I just didn't have a concept. And I was driving through the drive-through dairy. Let me just say, when my kids were young, I knew every drive-through there was, okay? Because I had these 3 small children that, if I could get a lot of things done, knowing which drive-thrus I can go to, I was doing it, right? So looks like Pete is joining us, which is cool.
Hi, Linda.
So I remember hi, hey, how you doing? It's good to see you. I'm glad you're here. You look good too. Thank you for joining.
I wasn't planning on being here, but I'm still up, so what the heck?
You know what? I really enjoy it. Can't get enough. And by the way, let me put in a little bit of a promotion that tomorrow Pete is going to be on the show with Hess.
Yep.
Yeah,
is that tomorrow, Sunday?
Yeah, Pete's going to be coming on tomorrow. We have our theological day, our spiritual day. So Pete is a gentleman. He's a gentleman. We like Pete. In fact, he's getting some good comments here on YouTube as well. They all love Pete. Why would you not love Pete? I mean, he's just a lovable guy. So, anyways, he's coming on the program tomorrow. He'll be on tomorrow at 4:00 on Jay Hess. And
Jay Hess, yes.
Jay Hess's Making Disciples with Jay program. So that's going to be wonderful, Pete. Looking forward to that. Yeah.
It should be fun.
Yeah. Now, I did come up with that song, Linda. Would you like me to play the song?
Thank you. Sure.
So let me play the song.
And just to... Okay.
So let me do this. Let me play the song. In fact, I'll tell you what. Is it like a video too? I forget.
Yes, it is a video as well. Yes.
All right. Well, why don't I just play the whole video so people can see it? So
I think they would really enjoy it. Yes.
Well, let me play the video here, so we can do that. Let me just get to the right screen here so I can share this. So let me see. A good day. Okay. This one right here. All right. Good day to be alive.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one. So we're going to share that right now. So let's do it, and let's play it. Hold on, folks. We're going to do it right now.
to be alive, yes, being able to share this special place and time. Being grateful for opening my eyes is enough. Sometimes to say it's a good day to be alive. Yeah. Oh, I said, what I said, every moment holds a key and opens another door. But those keys won't work on these new doors no more. Well, if you find yourself in a dark place, maybe just being planted, or when one day you blossom and open up the gifts you granted, I say it's a good day to be alive, being able to share this special place and time. Well, being grateful for opening my eyes is enough. Sometimes I say it's a good day to be alive. Yeah. Oh, I said, amen. Lord, I said, amen. Oh, our lives are slippery slow. So if you're sliding down the mountain, look around for a friend, someone to confide. Oh, all of us brothers and sisters are here to help each other. Making it to the top alone won't be nothing without shelter. I say it's a good day to be alive, being able to share this special place and time. Being grateful for opening my eyes is enough. Sometimes I say it's a good day, woo, to be alive. It's a good day, huh? It's a good day. It's a good day to be alive.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's a nice, positive song, Linda.
Thank you. Yeah, that's by Misty Mayhem. I believe she's in North Carolina. And I've been entertaining the thought of wanting to use that as an opening for this show, Healing After the Watchtower. And once we lost Michael Wayne Moore, it was just hugely on my heart. So I just straight up contacted her and told her, this is what I do. I do a live podcast on Saturday nights, and sent her a copy of one of the shows so that she would know what she's agreeing to, and asked her if I could use her song as the bumper music, and she was good with it. So later on, if she needs me to give her money or whatever, that's fine. But yeah, look her up. She's a truly talented woman, and I think she's amazing. So yeah, I love her style.
Well, good.
So Pete,
there's no copyright, so we can play that song. So that's good.
yeah, this
Thank
is
you.
one of her originals, and she actually wrote it on a day when she was just having a hard time, and I think we all kind of find ourselves challenged at times with our history or where we're at in life. So I was super thankful. So Pete, I was just giving some comments, kind of like touching on subjects that have been brought up, and simply just sharing my opinion. If somebody sees it that way, it's how they see it. If not, that's fine too. I don't mind if you chime in with your opinion. I actually believe that after we leave the Watchtower, we don't have to be in quote unquote unity. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have to all end up in a place of having the same belief system, nor do we have to end up in the same place of having the same political mindset. So I know that many people here on Six Screens have a higher conservative mindset, which is actually makes perfect sense to me. When people leave the organization, they already see themselves as conservatives. And actually, I I put in a good amount of time trying to be a conservative, and it just did not work. I mean, I spent years, giving it a shot, and it didn't seem right for me. So I think that people have different mindsets. So yeah. So I was talking about Rodney King and how I had never seen or witnessed a riot. And this was back in 1990. I had my youngest son in 1991. Yeah, it must have been around 91 because I was watching the OJ, the OJ trial with Marcia Clark, So I remember watching that on a daily basis. And that was pretty interesting. So there's been a few things that have led up to, even more than I'm even mentioning tonight, that has led up to this thing that happened after Floyd was taken down by this police officer. And there has been such a history of the abuse coming from officers against the Black community. So much. I mean, I've seen it myself. I know it happens. My ex-husband was Hispanic, and nothing scares him, okay? So, and the reason I'm mentioning this is because I'm talking about people of color. So we got pulled over one day when he was driving, and all of a sudden I see him absolutely terrified. And I was like, whoa. And I could tell he was terrified because this officer was going to come talk to him. So this had been either something that he's experienced before or has been taught, or I had to talk him through it. It was so, I just never seen him like that before nor since, okay? He was terrified, okay? And, okay. It was just, and I'm telling you, being a white woman, I have not experienced this. And I know that it's because I'm a white woman, okay? Because I don't believe that I have I'm associated with what police officers have decided is of trouble, if that makes sense, okay? My ex-husband had a brother that was literally a pimp, the spider tattoo on the neck and everything. Okay. Like, born and raised in Boyle Heights of LA, Los Angeles. And, pretty much, so there's history there that I can't really explain anyway. So basic, and I'm always mentioned, I don't relate to the whole hanging around people that wanted a house, like when we went out in service, because nobody wanted a house in the location where I went out in service, because I grew up in Nevada, okay? I grew up around a highly Hispanic community. So I actually felt as though I knew the Hispanic culture much better than my own white culture, okay? I just didn't know it very well. But like I was saying...
The corner bodega?
Did I what?
Did you shop at the corner bodega?
I don't know what that is.
Well, Bodegas are the little mom and pop Hispanic shops
Yes.
that are in, the ghetto or barrio areas.
Yes.
So Saturday Night Live has made a thing about, doing skits about bodegas. So it's, yeah, dude.
Is Padilla a last name?
No, it's the name of the shop.
Okay.
It's what they call, like we would call a convenience store, say a 7-Eleven, as a generic term. Bodega is just, it's a family-run mom and pop shop for the Hispanic community.
Yes. Which was where the only place I could find mole, which is something you get to make chicken mole, which is a powder. Okay, so they have it in a glass or in a can. And what it really is chocolate and peanut butter, and it's a certain kind of mix for chicken mole, and that's a Hispanic dish. So I wouldn't be able to find the mole unless I went into one of the local stores that was very much mom and pop owned. They would actually have the cans. And so, yeah, I was very used to the neighborhood, Yep. So going back to, I have witnessed people of color being discriminated against with a stereotypical view. I loved the fact that I grew up in the organization because I believed we all had this mindset of like looking forward to paradise, and all of us with our different nationalities and ethnicities, and we're all going to live together in paradise. And I thought that's a wonderful thing. So I'm so glad that I wasn't raised to be selective or prejudiced or any of that. I just never got any of that with my family ever. And I'm very thankful. That's one thing I'm very thankful about the organization. But the fact is there is racism out there, and it's pretty ugly. So I watched Reginald Denny get pulled out of a truck on the corner of Florence and Normandy. And by the way, I lived in a town with the street called Florence. Okay, so I'm like, oh my God, So Florence was going towards LA. And I didn't have it in my mind where Florence and Normandy was, but I just was like, holy crap, Florence comes through our town too. So, like I said, I had never seen a riot. And when I did see the beginning of it, I was just blown away. And I could tell that there was hostility against the white people, because of the situation that had just happened. Now, I watched Reginald Denny get taken out of his truck. He was a truck driver, and they beat the hell out of him. And I remember he had this long blonde hair. And when he ended up in court, he forgave them. He forgave them. He did not take it personal. He understood that he found himself in that place, in that time. And another thing is there was a black man who came and protected him, right? So I believe that in times of this crisis, it's what's on someone's heart to, so it was a black man that got rid of the little thugs. Well, they weren't little, they were pretty huge, and, told them off and protected him until, the ambulance came or whatever, Now, when Floyd was killed, I was, I watched these protests start. Let me just back up a little bit. I remember paying more attention to the news than usual, which I'm not always up to paying attention to the news, but I remember COVID was starting, right? And I remember thinking to myself, oh, wow, okay, so I need to figure out what's sanitary, how does this COVID thing work, and all this stuff, right? So I remember Trump talking about how it should be pretty much gone by the time Easter comes, right? And then he was encouraging people to protest to not wear a mask, right? I mean, we had one here in town on Main Street to not wear your mask, right? I'm thinking, what the hell why is he treating it like this? But So he had some protests going on. So after Floyd, then there was some other protests starting. And I was watching it. I was fascinated by it. But I think the main thing, the main message that was being said was, we're standing up and we're not going to take this anymore. And there is discrimination and we're going to speak it out, you know? And then it was like, next thing you know, it's worldwide. We're having a worldwide protest. Now, I also remember on the news would often say these peaceful protests. They would speak of them as peaceful protests. What happened at night was very different. They had curfews. I remember I would get the text of what time the curfews needed to be, what time these people that were protesting, and even myself, was to be home. They had these curfews. So what I noticed was those that had stayed after curfew were pretty much the ones that were going to do the most damage. But I'm sure many of you have heard that the three people that started the Black Lives Matter, one of them was involved in the Jehovah's Witnesses, correct? I'm pretty sure you guys do remember that. Now, she is the result of a Jehovah's Witness mother who, by the way, got kicked out because she was pregnant. So it was that whole shunning thing. You know, you're bad, you got pregnant out of wedlock, you're out of here, okay? So she watched her mother grow up and struggle, because that's what we do. When we get kicked out of our home, we struggle, okay? She watched her mother do many jobs, you know, and just struggle. But she was a hard worker. And I can't remember the name of the gal, but so her daughter, I'm just going to speak of her as her daughter, discovered that she actually has a gift in organizing. So when her and the other two got together, it was for the intention of organizing. And so that's a little bit of that background with the Jehovah's Witnesses and one of the founders of the BLM movement. But I just read one of her books, something to the effect of When You're Spoken of as a Terrorist. And that was a pretty good book. And you get to know a little bit about her, so that's a good book. So I think when the time came and I saw that this movement was worldwide, I was really proud. Okay? I was really proud because the message I heard was, look, this is happening. This is still happening. Listen, this is still happening. You know, that's what that message was. And I did hear the whole defund the police. I did hear that. And the message that I believe that might have been being said was, this needs to be rebuilt from the bottom up. Bless you, Pete.
Tickle in my throat.
Oh, I hate that. So, there was definite anger towards the police. There was definite things going on. People were angry and they shared it. They had protest signs that shared it. There was different posters around. But another thing that was going on too is many of them had a sign that said, say their names. Okay? On these signs that said, say their names, was a ton of names. I'm talking like a ton of names, like 3 rows of names of people that were victims of police. So they showed up with, look, this is still happening and these are their names. Now say their names. Like they had that attitude of, look at this, you know, this is what's going on. Did it get ugly and get bad? It did. It did. But I tend to believe that those that came there that were organized and wanted to come back day after day, like got out of there during, you know, time of curfew because they didn't want to get arrested. But I loved the fact that it was not only the Black culture that was saying we've had enough, that it was every culture out there. And it just made me proud because it was saying this is not okay. This is not okay. And I loved that. So, yeah, I find that as Jehovah's Witnesses, we don't get to have a voice. Matter of fact, we're taught that we're not allowed to protest, and which they've had people protest. They have had Jehovah's Witnesses protest. I believe it's been within the last 10 years for, I believe, portions of Korea for their liberty. But again, I'm not starting this off with all kinds of notes or anything, but I'm just wanting to say that how I've been viewing things that have been brought up tonight.
You just ripping
and
yeah.
Say that again.
You're ripping off the top of your head.
I am. And you know what? I don't start shows like this. I don't start shows like, listen, I've just heard all this stuff, and now I'm going to give a reply about it because this is how I see it. I make a point of not doing that. But tonight, it was just where I wanted to go, and there's other views, and I respected the ones that I hear from six screens that are conservative views. I can respect them for the most part, and I remember talking to Rick, and the rules were we weren't even allowed to talk politics, and I asked him for a while, can we talk politics? And he was like, didn't even want to do that, right? and this show, Healing After the Watchtower, we've kind of got into things as time was going by, like, you know, over time, but we haven't as much so far. But anyways, I just have different views than what I've been hearing, and I just wanted to share them. Do you have were you listening from the transition of just before my show started what Rick was saying?
I was listening
like,
to some of it. You know, I was waiting for you to come on, so I would, you know, was going to like the conference, you know, suite.
Okay.
And wait to see, and then after a few minutes, I'd bounce out and go do something else, and I kept checking back in to see, you know. But it's kind of, you know, like I was born and raised, and I still live in the city of Attleboro, Massachusetts. Now, when I was a child, and even before I became a witness, the population of Attleboro was like around 35,000. So it's not a big city, but it's not like a small town either, you know?
Okay.
Right in the middle there. Now, there were 2,500 kids in my high school. All right, this was like, you know, in the late 70s. And out of the 2,500 kids in my high school, there was one black kid.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right. So Attleboro was like a predominantly white town. We only had the one black family. You know, one son went to the high school. The other son went to an agricultural school. So he wasn't in our school. You know, so we got 2,500 white kids and one black kid. And that was like the atmosphere that I grew up in. As a matter of fact, when I was in preschool, right, and this is more kind of like an indication of the times we're living in like this is the mid-60s. When I was in preschool, our teacher gave us a bunch of like magazines and told us to cut out pictures of people that would represent the members of our family, and then we're going to paste them like into a collage. So like for me, it was just me and my mom. So I cut out a little boy and then a woman who kind of looked like my mom. But that one black kid was in my class. Him and I are the same age.
Okay.
And he went through all these magazines as like Time and Life and Look magazine. And he went through.
Oh, I know Now I know where you're going. Oh no. Yeah.
Could not find a picture of a black person anywhere in the
Okay.
magazine. And so the teacher sat there and they actually colored in the faces with a crayon so that he could
Oh
tell.
wow.
And it's like, we talk about that now and kind of get a chuckle out of it, and so does he. But that just kind of tells you like what life was like just 50 years ago.
Right,
So I
right.
think what's happened is from where we were 50 years ago, there has been huge bounds in progress as far as, the discrimination or racism. I think what's happened nowadays is racism has kind of become this, it's almost like a hashtag that might get distorted sometimes, Like if you make a certain comment, oh, that's racist. Well, no, it's not really, So I think what's happened is back in the 60s, there were legitimate civil rights that needed to be addressed, and a lot of progress has been made towards that. Is it perfect? No. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done, but we should acknowledge the improvements that have been made.
Can you give a few examples?
Well, just look at how many, like 50 years ago, how many successful, like say, black entertainers were there? You could probably count them on one hand, or maybe 10 fingers. Those
Right,
who were
right.
like really big stars. You had like Sammy Davis Jr. and
Yes.
Flip Wilson was big on TV. And,
Yep.
like that. But now it's like black entertainers are all through Hollywood. You got Denzel and Morgan Freeman and
Okay.
and you've got all.
There's more representatives.
Right. The
In
music
before.
industry
Okay.
in particular, like the music industry is just, it's I won't say overwhelmed, but it's full of black entertainers. Whereas back in the 60s, other than like the Motown groups, you didn't hear any black people on the radio.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's the progress is being made. You're seeing academics, black academics like Thomas Sowell. You're seeing, just everywhere. Things have improved. There's still further to go, no doubt about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as far as like the police violence and all that, there are two sides to every story. When you're a policeman, you don't know what the situation is that you're walking in.
Absolutely. You're right.
Your instincts are to be on high alert, and the adrenaline is pumping even before you get into the situation.
Yes.
So if you're met with any type of resistance, the instinct is going to be to fight. So, Dave Chappelle used to do a comedy routine. I don't know if you ever watch a Dave Chappelle show, but he showed.
I'm trying to think of who that is.
Dave Chappelle is a black comedian.
Okay.
And he's famous for, kind of taking like black issues and looking at them from a slightly different perspective.
Okay.
So he did like this skit comedy bit where there were 3 or 4 incidences where like a black person, there was one where a black guy was in a car getting pulled over by the police. And so it was like, if you're a black man and you get pulled over by the police, you should do this. And the man is like, can I help you, officer? Oh, my license and registration? Here you go, sir. Thank you. Be very cooperative and like that. He's like, but if you want to get your ass beat, act like
Oh,
this.
no.
What you want?
Oh, no.
I don't gotta show you crap. So it's all about attitude sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes, yeah.
Dave makes makes it humor about it, but the root, the basis of his humor is it's actually truth. If you want to have, and it works for conversations or any type of personal interaction, what you give off is what you're going to get back. So if you want the person that you're talking to treat you with respect, you should give them that respect first. Now, if you give hostility to a person, expect to get the hostility back.
Okay.
And it's pretty much, I think it's common sense, and it's actually biblical. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Yes, and I do agree with the whole, give officers respect, those that are, I raised my kids to have respect for an officer and told them that when an officer pulls me over, they're in a higher rank than I am. They have more power than I do.
Officers are not nice people,
Yes, true.
Just like any other group of people, there are good ones, there are bad ones.
Yes.
But their job is to protect everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sorry.
The Reginald Denny thing was a perfect example. There were a group of black people attacking them, but there was one black guy that was trying to help him. So you can't say everybody is this, every individual is different.
I agree. And I watched this one gal who has a very public platform, a black lady that's on Facebook. She's married to a white man. And it was around this time of the Floyd and the protests and all this stuff. And she had gotten pulled over. And as the officer was talking to her, she said, I'm going to put my hands over here and I'm going to grab my, driver's license out of my purse and stuff. And she was just telling him each and everything she was doing. And he actually thanked her because he admitted that he gets scared too. He gets scared too. So what you're saying is definitely true. I would definitely think so. I'm hearing that people are wanting to kind of join us, but I'm not hearing anybody joining us. So I'm wondering if there's something Rick can do to where people calling in, I would be able to hear them. So I just wanted to mention that, and maybe he'll set that up pretty soon. I do remember George Floyd being extremely cooperative. Like, as soon as he got out of his truck, he was extremely cooperative. And what he kept saying was, don't put me in the back of that truck because I'm claustrophobic. Yeah. And I remember so I couldn't bear the idea of watching this video that was out there after that I had heard about. But when the trial happened, I went through a couple of times where it just, it affected me emotionally. And after that, it became very fascinating to me. So I watched that and I found it. I kept thinking to myself, he keeps saying he's claustrophobic and people are telling, nobody's getting it. He's claustrophobic, which means it's a phobia that's not, most phobias are not, they're not supposed to make sense. They're an irrational fear. Okay, that's what a phobia is, an irrational fear, meaning it doesn't make sense. It's not, phobias are horrible, okay? So as soon as they threw him in the back of that truck, he was going nuts. And why? Because he was, and the thing about the truck is it had that plastic barrier too. So, hi Rick.
speak up. Yeah, we do have someone wants to speak up. They keep coming in. Hate to butt in on you. Go ahead, sir. You're on with us.
Hello?
Oh, I do hear you. Hi.
Hi.
I've been saying hello for 12 minutes, and my phone says unmuted. I've been trying to speak up since you were talking about Reggie Denny. I was trying to
I'm
hurry
so
and speak
sorry.
up while he's still relevant. No, that's
I didn't
okay.
hear
I know
you.
it's not your fault.
I'm
No,
I hear you now though.
probably not your fault. I just wanted to say something about the Rodney King situation and the timing of when the riot
Thank you,
started.
Rick. Mm-hmm.
The Rodney King
Okay.
situation, Rodney King was beaten by about 5 cops with the batons, one hit after another. He was on the ground like a rat that was being killed, and it went on. It must have been something like 40 some hits or 45 hits, and so it went to court. And I think that the cops, all of them, were found not guilty.
Yes, that's right.
That the decision was made that they were acquitted. That's when the riots broke out.
Yeah.
Those riots broke
Yeah.
out because
Okay.
people were frustrated because something as egregious as that beating that man got, I don't care if he was speeding or whatever, people knew it was unacceptable and they couldn't believe that the cops got off. So that
Yeah.
is the King thing. And I think that the woman who, and so in the middle of that riot, Reggie Denny was driving one of those Mack trucks or something, and he got pulled
Yes.
out and beat him to a pulp. And I think it
Yeah.
was a man and a woman who got him. They put him in his truck, and they drove him out of that scene. That's what happened with Reggie
Okay.
Denny.
Okay.
But I have to say, I hear Pete talking about how people should act if the cops stop them. I think that is that's an, let me put it like this, inexperienced point of view. You know, if that's the point of view of a person who doesn't have to worry. Think about it. Breonna Taylor, when they said say their names and there was a list of names, Breonna Taylor, she was a woman who was she was home, asleep in her bed at 2 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And they did a no-knock warrant. The no-knock warrants are served disproportionately on Black communities. They did a no-knock warrant, and she ended up dead. And when the cops went to court for this, it wasn't for the bullets that hit her. It was for the bullets that went into the apartment of neighbors.
Yes.
Neighbors, that's for the apartment of the Black neighbors. They didn't get in trouble for any bullets that went in that apartment, nor anything that killed this woman. Let's move forward 2 years to Ellen Locke. Another no-knock warrant. This guy is sleeping at a family member's house. There is a no-knock warrant served, and the no-knock warrant is served for property, not for people. He's asleep. The no-knock warrants are supposed to wait until after 7 a.m. in that area, and they did it at 6:50. He was asleep.
Oh wow.
That he was licensed, and the door comes in, and he stares. It's still in his blanket, and a cop kicks the couch, and they shoot him dead. Now, how was he supposed to act? What is this polite thing that he was supposed to do when the cops come serving a no-knock warrant? What was Breonna Taylor supposed to do when the cops came and served the no-knock warrant? What is a person supposed to do when they see this constant pattern where unarmed Black people, or even if you're armed and you explain that you're armed and you have a license, you end up dead. How are they supposed to act? How does a person act when they see something that threatens their life 2 feet away from them? How are they supposed to act?
Yeah, I think there's I hear you.
And I have to express my disgust. Linda, you are fresh water because you did come on and you expressed a different view. I am so upset that people that I have respected for all these years, I'm upset with Rick, Susan, and Dick Borghi. I don't know where they are supposed to have been, where they've been. That they act like these events that have happened did not happen. To call January 6th a little thing, if those were black people, if that was Black Lives Matter, they would have never made it past the barricade. And the question about the woman who was shot, she was leading a group of people who had broken out windows. They were in the speaker's lobby, and through a broken window, she was the first one who jumped up and was ready to, as I say, alight into the speaker's lobby. That's why she got shot. What else would she? The cops waited until the last possible moment. If she had gotten past him, then they would have, Congress people would have been harmed, possibly killed. Everybody saw that cop with the gun. Everyone saw him because they said he has a gun, and they all backed up. But she, Ashley Babbitt is her name. She bravely jumped up. For some reason, she felt that something about her would get her through. But if the cops didn't shoot at that point, when would they shoot? They shouldn't even have the gun. Those are just a few things. I just can't believe. I can't believe Christine and Reese, when they're talking about this replacement. Who's being replaced? You know, this replacement. Someone typed on the YouTube channel, and I respect that person for typing it. They said there was a replacement in North America already. There's already been a replacement in North America. So that's all I have to say.
Well, Zach, this is
thanks
Rick.
for listening, Rick.
I'm
Rick,
here now. I'm not
Rick,
gonna.
Rick, don't be nice to me. I don't need your niceness.
Well, no, I don't need your niceness
Not
either.
right now.
I like what my technician. Just shut the heck up.
It'll take me time, Rick. It'll take me time to calm down after the stuff I heard tonight.
Yeah, well, I want you to calm down because you're dealing with emotion and not fact. That's what you're dealing with.
Don't tell me I'm dealing with emotion. Don't tell me I'm dealing with emotion. I'm dealing with past experience. I'm not stupid, so stupid as to believe the stuff I'm hearing, Rick.
Let me ask
and don't throw emotion on me. That's what people do to women. They say, "Oh, you're being emotional." Don't tell me about emotion. Just if you're talking to me, you talk to me.
All right. Well, let's just talk nice and civil. I mean, you're the one that's attacking me. I'm not attacking you.
And
you came on here attacking.
Okay.
Yeah, and see, I don't even see it as attacking. I hear it as an opinion.
I spoke up to speak to Linda and Pete.
Well, you said that you made some rude remarks about me and my wife. You can do it. You can write all you want in the 6 screens video suite. You can write all kinds of things.
Rick, right now.
You can call me a white supremacist. Okay. You can call me what you want. But I think we've had enough of him, to be honest with you. He has one track mind. That's it. He doesn't know how to work in the opposite direction. He deals with emotion. He cannot come on here tonight and tell me one good thing that
Rick,
Biden has done.
You know something, Rick? The right always wants the left to deal to make concessions, but the right never makes concessions.
Well, are you happy, Zach? Are you happy?
The fact that
you're not answering questions.
Rick, the fact I don't have to answer questions. Rick, the fact that you had the conversation you had tonight, after all the conversations we've had over the past 2 years, and that's as far as you've got. That's a shame.
Well, I have a right to my opinion, and you do too.
You have
but I
a
don't
right
like
to
it when you call me.
Too.
I don't like it when you call me a white supremacist. I'm not a white supremacist.
I didn't call you a white supremacist. Don't lie, Rick. I never called you a white supremacist.
Well, you implied
Never called you that. Never called you racist or white supremacist. Don't lie.
Well, I'm sorry I misinterpreted it as that, but That's what I interpreted.
I don't know what you misinterpreted. There was nothing for you to misinterpret.
All right. So if you didn't say it, then I'll agree with. If you didn't say it, then I'll go with you. But I thought for sure you were the one.
Don't go with me. Just go with the truth. I never said a thing about you being a white supremacist or a racist.
Can we roll the clocks back here? Can I read you what was written in here in the video suite?
Go ahead.
All right. Let me read you what was written in here. Let me just roll back a little bit. I mean, let's just see.
Tell me the time you're going back to. Give me the time stamp, please.
All right. Well, we got you writing in here. Rick would not let himself.
What time, Rick? What time?
Well, at
What's the time
36. 36.
0036?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I bet this is not being put on YouTube. Rick would not let himself be recorded talking about George Floyd protests. Now, I don't even remember talking about George Floyd protests.
Where, Rick, in the world does it say you're a white supremacist or a racist there?
Well, let's move back.
Where?
Well, I mean, just that, wouldn't that imply it? I mean, wouldn't that imply by...
Imply?
Yeah.
That sounds like a guilty conscience to me. I didn't imply anything. I said, George, I'm careful with my words. I know when to say things. I said that about George Floyd. I don't think you'd want to be caught on YouTube saying what you were saying. Now, let me ask you, was the tape still running for YouTube when you said that?
No, it wasn't. I shut the YouTube off. But in other words, I would have said if I was still on YouTube.
And isn't that what I said? I know that you're not on YouTube while you were saying what you were saying about the riot or the protests or whatever it was. I know you wouldn't want to be on YouTube saying that.
Well, I'll put the YouTube. In fact, it's on here right now. I'd say it right now. It's I shut the YouTube off because I had to
Okay, wait a minute. We just now changed the conversation. We changed the conversation from something. You're trying to prove that I called you a white supremacist or racist, and you have not been able to do so. All right? So there we have it.
Well,
there we have it.
Well, let me go back. I've got 5 computers running here. You and Paul were in there. You and Paul were in there working up quite the stuff to say about Susan, Dick, and I. I know sometimes Dick does get a little out of control with things he says, but I mean.
Well, you were talking about January 6th like it was nothing. All of you were talking about it like it was nothing.
Well, I mean,
Rick, maybe you were the one who was closest to the truth, but you were still far from it.
Well,
you're talking about January 6th like it didn't happen.
I mean,
someone said something about Ashley Babbitt.
Well, it was a difficult
Come
day.
on.
No, listen to me. Now, I wouldn't, Dick came on and Dick did call it stupid, and I wouldn't call it stupid. I mean, it was a bad day in American history, but I don't think we really have all of the facts on it. I have a good.
Let me say.
Well, wait a minute. Why don't you let me talk? Let me talk.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm letting
you
talk.
Ahead, Rick.
So, what I'm saying is, there's a man that had a program on here last week. His name is Jimmy Bell. He was there at the Capitol when that happened. He was there, and there was a crowd there that he said were rowdy. They were Antifa people. You've heard of them, right? So there was a crowd.
It means
there was a crowd there that was inciting. They were there. It wasn't the normal Trump fan, so to speak. So there's a lot of things in that inquiry that took place this week that are very unsettling to me. Why would they not have the National Guard there? Why did they dismiss that? They knew there were going to be thousands of people there. Why did they just dismiss that?
Where did you hear that they dismissed the National Guard? Who dismissed the National Guard?
Nancy Pelosi.
Where'd you hear that?
Well, that's a known fact. She's the head of security. Nancy Pelosi is the head of security at the Capitol building. She should have had enough sense. She had all kinds of.
The National Guard is not assigned to the Capitol building, Rick. The Capitol Police are.
I understand that, but in other words,
the Capitol Police were there. They're the ones who got beat up.
Zach, you're not thinking straight. If there
I
was
am thinking straight. I'm thinking through your statement.
if there was going to be, I mean, they're putting fences up. They knew there was going to be some issues. Why wouldn't they have the National Guard come in and help the Capitol Police? That only sounds like it would be reasonable. And I've been seeing videos. I can't
The
substantiate.
Capitol Police were there, Rick. The Capitol Police were there. They're the ones who got beat up.
Yeah, the Capitol,
got
but they
tears
could have had
sprayed on them.
they could have had reinforcements from the National Guard. But crying out loud, it was a big business.
That's why they were calling Donald Trump, Rick, to get him to call in the Guard, to get him to call in reinforcements. And he refused. He sat on TV and watched it for hours.
All right, well, Zach, listen, we
That's
can
what happens,
we can
Rick.
have different opinions on it. I see it
They're
differently.
not. We can have different opinions, but not different facts.
Well, I'm giving you the
Donald
facts.
Trump sat and watched it. This is, if you're watching the hearings, this is what you'll hear on the hearings, Rick.
Well, I
This
have
is what you'll see and hear.
First of all, the hearings.
I know. Look, let me say something too. I noticed that in this day and age that people will say, they'll have a viewpoint and they'll say, well, you should watch this person. You should watch this person, a person that they may have watched. And then the acting is like everybody else is totally ignorant except for me because I watched this person. We all have our people that we watch. And some of us do watch Congress a lot, and some of us keep up with that stuff without someone else's interpretation. So I don't think it's a thing that should be done always to say, oh, watch this person, or to throw a YouTube video in somebody's face if somebody else might be doing their own reading and may watch their own YouTube videos.
Yeah, well,
I don't know, Rick. And Rick, you just now, you said, oh, you won't come on anymore tonight. I don't know what you have against me in that way, because I've always been honest with you. I've always been honest with you, and I don't take crap. That's why I don't mean crap, but I don't take it. I don't listen to when people say this or that, and they don't have basis. That's why, as a witness, and somebody asked, do I have a channel on the YouTube? No, I don't have a channel. Oh, I will move on. But look, when I was a witness, I know we always hear people saying, oh, witnesses don't go to college and they can't do this and they can't do that. I heard some of that too. But I did my own research and I found what was allowed, what was not allowed, and if something was partially allowed, why it was partially allowed. This is what they don't like. That's what they don't like. And so I did decide to go to college. I did, because my father had already died. My father had died, and you get this, you know, at the time they would give you Social Security if you were a surviving minor. And it went up to the age of 22. So I thought, oh,
That's
work
right.
or go to college. Well, this is an opportunity my father wanted me to take. I went to college. And I ended up in who's who. I did junior college first. I ended up in who's who among students in American junior colleges. And then 2 years later, I was in who's who among students in American colleges and in American universities and colleges. I don't just listen to what people say. I check and find out.
all right.
While I was in college, the brothers tried to make me the assistant book study conductor because they said I was consistent. So I don't just listen to what you say or someone who sounds like they know what they're talking about. No, because I got my own sources too.
All right, but that's okay.
And
No,
this is the thing that I'm worried about. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Rick.
no,
Because I want to tell you, you always ask, what are you worried about? I'm going to tell you after you talk. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
all right. Well, I just want to say this. I mean, are you now? You got to be honest with me, and I'll be honest with you. Do you feel that the country you're living in, Zach, has changed since Biden came into office?
Yes.
Are you happy
Yes.
with the way it's going?
I feel safer since Biden came into office. I feel like if something happens to me, it's a better chance that justice will be served. This is what I'm concerned with. The biggest thing for me is to be able to vote. I know it's not accepted. It's not a big deal maybe for you. But if you see where they have tried to overturn the election, it was in mostly black areas. It was in the black precincts of those large cities where the states were battleground states. So being able to vote is one of the most important things for me. I think it's the 14th Amendment that says that voting your voting opportunity to vote won't be infringed or impinged on the basis of race. Voting is important for me. Women got the chance to vote with the 19th Amendment, where voting could not be infringed or impinged based on sex. And people under 21 got the chance to vote with the 26th Amendment, which was ratified around July of 1971.
And the country's gone to hell since.
United States people under the age of over 18 and over, their right to vote cannot be infringed in the U.S., in any state or territory thereof. So voting is important for me. Voting is important for me. You already asked me about, am I better off than I was? Yes, I'm better off than I was. Things are going nicely for me. I'm not sitting and complaining. I understand everybody. I understand the concerns about inflation and the concerns about gas and things like that. But those are the kinds of things you expect to happen when we've had the world that we've had the past 3-4 years. When you come through a pandemic, not an epidemic, a pandemic. When you come through
It's
something
also
like
what
that,
you expect to happen when the president shuts down all the gas.
wars going on, such as Russia and Ukraine. You can expect an effect to be on gas if Russia's one of the providers of gas.
Well, look,
Voting's the
I'm
important
not
thing
gonna
for me.
I'm not gonna stop you from voting for Biden. I'm not even gonna try to discourage you from voting for Biden. If he's your man,
You're not.
if he's your man,
You're
I
not,
say vote
but-
for him. Yeah.
You're not. No. You just changed my
Let me ask something, please. Let me just ask something.
point.
May I-
Pasta baby.
Oh, sorry.
Can I ask you something? Zachary? When you're talking about you're wanting to vote, are you actually referring to what just got recently voted out? Like this, I don't remember what it was called, but something we've had in, it's just going to make things harder to vote for some people, and it's more the minorities it'll make things harder for minorities. That recently,
to vote, and especially for people who might vote for the same people I want to vote for. Understand
is that what you're referring to? That's my question. That's my question. Is that what you're referring to when you're talking about voting?
Oh, you mean voter registration laws that protect the
I'm
Constitution
talking
of the
about
United States?
Attempt to be able to overturn elections, attempts where people who are election deniers, people who are saying that Biden stole it was a stolen election. Those kinds of people are being voted in as attorneys general in certain states. So, in many states. And so what I'm saying is I want the ability to be able to vote, and I want that vote to count. I want it to count. There's been tremendous work over the
That's
past
what conservatives want.
more. Understand that I'm a Democrat, right?
No.
And that Democrats in the past 30 years.
Listen, me and Zach are like the only.
Glad that I stayed up to be on Linda's show so I could spend a half hour listening to Zach rant about something that happened 2 hours ago.
Hello?
Hello.
Yo.
When I can hear you. When we listen to ours.
We're on a show called Healing at the Watchtower. I don't give a damn about January 6th.
Okay, but it was brought up before.
Yeah, well, that
So
was before we were on the air. And I'm not going to sit here and listen for a half hour to somebody rant about its discussion that's 2 hours old.
I actually welcome that. And I can understand that you're bothered by it and didn't actually sign up for it. I don't blame you for that. But I actually welcome it.
I came on here to talk with a pasta babe, not Zach.
And see, I welcome it. So, yeah, I don't know what to say because I feel you, Pete, and I feel Zachary.
Well, with Zach,
I feel
it's not
Rick.
a discussion. He does monologues. If you want to do a half-hour monologue, get your own YouTube channel. Don't come on other people's shows and do half-hour speeches.
Yeah, I welcome it.
It was a conversation.
I mean, everybody has the right to express their opinion, but he came on and has totally monopolized your time slot.
Oh, I welcome it. Yeah, and
Yeah,
the time that I've gone.
Disrespect to a woman.
I did want to speak and say things, but it would not have been as long. Rick wanted to ask some questions. He wanted a conversation. I'm sorry to have taken so long, Pete. Forgive me.
I'm a little tired and I'm a little irritable, Zach. You know,
that's okay. That
I
happened.
had no intention of being on this show. I came on so I could chat with Linda, and we could have some nice, friendly conversation. And that's not what's happening.
I'm hearing you, and I can understand what you're saying, Pete. And
right.
You didn't know you were going to walk into this, but at the same time, Rick was really encouraging Zach to come on here and say what he had to say. So the times in the past when I've opened up things for politics, I've always wanted to make time for Zachary, but yet at the same time, I can understand you getting on here going, this is so not what I planned or so what I figured was going to happen. And again, I don't usually start off my show with, say that again?
So I'm just kind of sitting here watching all this, and it's like, I might as well just get off the live stream and go to bed. I'll be on tomorrow at 4 o'clock with Jay Hess.
Okay. You're welcome to stay, and if this bothers you, you're welcome to go, and I get it. I totally don't blame you. And I don't usually start my show doing the whole replies to what's been said earlier. I just don't. But this was a day I did.
Yeah. I'm sorry if I'm being a grumpy old man, but I am a grumpy old man, so I'm just being consistent.
I was being consistent. Okay. But yeah.
As the philosopher Popeye used to say, I am what I am.
You am what you am. Yeah. And see, you and I have talked before, Pete, and you've let me know about your views on politics. Like, you don't even waste time with it. It's just an area that you never really spend time much talking about it. And, so I can understand your viewpoint.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Yeah, no, personally, I think politics is a waste of time, because no matter what you or I or anybody else has to say, it will not ever change anything, because I am thoroughly convinced, if not a single American ever turned in a ballot, that on the evening news, they would still give us election results. And that's just, my thought on the matter. So,
right.
So how's the weather out there?
And it's good. It's good. It's good. But yeah, it's hard to hear such different reality than the one I live in. And on a regular basis, all the time. So I can appreciate other people's opinions and stuff. But when it comes to we Democrats are the evil ones. We Democrats are this, opposing on the devil's side. It gets old. It gets really old because I myself, I don't have the mindset that's being spoken of by what I hear, and I understand that people have a different mindset. But the us and them, us being the good guys, was what I hear a lot from the conservatives. And then the Democrats are the bad guys, just dragging things down, and they're of the devil. Hello, that's the shit I heard in the Watchtower. That's what I grew up on. Some days it irritates me more than others, okay? I did not decide. I'm sorry, what? What did you say?
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from with it.
And I would like us to go ahead.
I used to be involved in politics, and that was back 15, 20 years ago. I was getting to the point where I'm like, look, Republicans and Democrats have been in control of this country for about 150 years. And under their leadership, it's turned to shit. So it's about time that we let somebody else take over. But the American voters, much like Jehovah's Witnesses, are beaten into the mindset that there is only two choices, Republicans or Democrats. Look at any presidential election, and there are at least 6 or 7 political parties on that ballot. So, no, you don't have to vote for a Democrat, and you don't have to choose a Republican. Choose somebody that might do something different, although I doubt it. But if you're going to keep voting for the same 2 political parties, you're going to get the same crap. So stop complaining about it. It's your choice. You put them there. And that's my last.
Okay, I'm not complaining about Biden. I'm not. Okay, I'm okay with him being there right now. I'm just fine with it. But I hear what you're saying. Okay. This is a little awkward, but we're going to switch the conversation. And I appreciate you coming in, Zach. I appreciate you taking Rick up on his request for you to come in and talk to him. Rick let you know that there was things that he read that. Oh, you're welcome. Rick let you know that there was things that he read that gave him the impression that you were looking upon him as a white supremacist, and you got to answer to him. And I'm glad you did, because your voice needed to be heard too. And I'm glad he said what he said, because that bothered him. So I'm glad that happened. I'm glad Pete was like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing here. I don't want to talk politics.
I'm here
goodness.
Victim of the Watchtower.
And see.
Washington, D.C.
You know what?
I don't care what goes on in Washington, D.C.
Okay. Well, after I really requested us being able to talk politics, I'm just going to give you a heads up. Every so often we will talk politics. Just when it happens, it happens. So, because it used to not be that way. So I won't blame you if you step away, or if you stick around. It's all good with me.
Well, I have no problem as long as it's a two-way discussion. But when somebody gets up on the preacher's pulpit and totally monopolizes the conversation, that irritates me.
I did monopolize the conversation.
When Zach usually speaks, he's interrupted so many times. I was like really enjoying the flow, but okay. I hear what you're saying, Pete.
Yep. Zach, if we're
It's a
ever
very
let's go have a beer together.
if we're ever in the same what?
If we're ever in the same town, let's go have a beer together.
Okay. Speaking of college, and I love what Zach said because he did look at the situation he was in, and he was able to keep his commitments with the organization, and then chose to go to college and actually made it happen. And I think he's mentioned the story before that somebody who was at the school or something asked him, what kind of hours do you think you're going to be, going to school for? And then she actually explained to him that it can be spaced apart, and it's not going to be like the way someone might think of it as, we've been going to school, regular school, from like 7 to 2:30 every day. And I think she asked him because she was wondering if that's the way he was thinking. And then she presented it to him as, no, these classes can be spread apart, or it's very different than high school. But there is a situation that has recently happened. And I'm glad that where I was going with this is I'm glad that he did go to college, because he's definitely improved. I believe that for the most part in this organization, going to college is a no-no and highly discouraged. And it's not people. I've heard so many stories about people being pressured to not go to college. And I can remember I was just going to go to beauty school, and the only hairdresser in the Kingdom Hall comes over to me and tries to talk me out of it. Yet she was still a hairdresser at that time, And beauty school was like 10 months. Maybe so. But it was just a real...
Are you kidding? You're going to take half her customers.
Hardly, but okay. So I wanted to read this that I got off of William Bowen's page. And that's Bill Bowen, where it talks about what happens is there was a certain letter. So the story this week has been that I'll just read it here. It's memorandum from September 5th, 2014, and it says it's from the U.S. Branch Committee, and some in an adjustment on the Cayman Islands Hospital Liaison Committee. It says, please see the attached letter, which I don't have, and a bunch of other stuff that isn't about what I'm wanting to share. And then I'm going to go down to this, and it's on William Bowen's page, so you can find it. What I wanted to go down to was a few bullet points. It says he and his wife were assigned as missionaries to Grand Cayman and have served there for over 30 years. He served as an HLC chairman, so that's a Hospital Liaison Committee, until last month. Brother so-and-so's wife suffers with failing memory, and he also has health problems. Then to the next one. He and his wife were assigned to Grand Cayman as special pioneers by the Jamaican branch, with our letter dated July 31st, 2014. He was appointed to serve an internment with HLC chairman. However, in his email dated August 19th, 2014, Brother so-and-so informed us that he has been invited to a new school of Kingdom Evangelizers on September 22nd and should be be prepared to move. The next bullet point. Originally from Jamaica, he was moved by the Jamaican branch as a special pioneer and HLC member in Jamaica to the same position in Grand Canyon or Grand Cayman, which is not always the case when they're moved. And this is the next line. Removed. So and so was removed. See, they have all these names blacked out, so I might be talking about a few different people, or I might be talking about the same people through all of this. But here's the one I really wanted to mention, because it's got the black redact. I can't say the person's name. It says removed local brother, no longer serving as an elder. It is our understanding that this capable local brother was removed because his daughter went to college in Britain. This is a thing. Elders can be removed if anybody within like their families, their wife, their children go to college. Elders are to step down.
Yeah.
And then
that's the shepherding the flock of God book.
Right. Right.
Elders,
I have said. Mm-hmm.
If you're an elder and you have a child who pursues college education, they can form a judicial committee on you. Yeah, it's strictly forbidden.
It's strictly what?
Forbidden.
Right.
Yeah. So that letter,
and then the next.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, many people don't realize that not only is higher education usually in the form of university, not so much like a 2-year college or going to a trade tech. That's usually not a problem, but going to university, getting into an area that where you're expanding your mind and having higher education, they pretty much don't have a problem if you're doing labor work or a trade where it's a physical labor. But when it comes to doing things that advances your mind and everything, it's usually just totally discouraged.
Yeah. Well, the governing body discourages higher education of like a 4-year type, or especially if you want to become like a doctor or a lawyer, because you're talking 6, maybe 10 years of college. They have no objection to like a trade school, because in the new system, we're going to need people to build houses and do the plumbing and the electrical work and, the skilled manual labor jobs. We're going to need masons and all that. So, yeah, the governing body supports that practical education, but nothing that actually requires critical thinking.
Right. And when you say mason, you're actually talking about the bricklaying technique of masonry. Yeah.
Right.
Where it's a true art. It's a true technique,
I think
the
new system will probably all have cobblestone roads.
I've heard Brother Anthony Morris, give his talk about discouraging higher education, and encourage the students or encourage people to not become doctors. He literally says we don't need doctors. Okay, I have a problem with this. Well, we're all building our houses in paradise. Might somebody fall off the roof and break their leg? I mean, what about people having and giving birth? I mean, there's other things. We need doctors. I would think that we would need doctors.
Will there be children born in the new world?
See, that was always a thing. We didn't know if there was or wasn't.
Because
it was kind of
think of it from a practical standpoint. If we're living forever and we're reproducing, at some point in eternity, the earth will become overpopulated.
Yep.
So, and off the top of my head, I don't see any reference. Well, first, there's no real references to an earthly paradise, but I don't see any talk of like after a resurrection. Like there's a scripture that says when the dead are resurrected, that they will not be given in marriage. So it's like, there will be no marriage for resurrected people. So, but there's nothing that specifically says that there will be children in the new world. So it's something to think about.
Yes, it is. That is something to think about. And I can recall the teachings would go back and forth whether or not children would be born in the new system. And actually it was encouraged to not have children in this old system of things, and we ought to wait till the new system of things to have children, So I remember it going back and forth. And there's this famous story that we've heard about Rutherford. He comes out with this book called Children, and he has all these children come out the state, at this convention,
Right.
and gives them all this book about children, and that's really encouraging them to not have children. Which, by the way, I ended up buying that book off of, I think, eBay or something. I haven't had a chance to read all the way through it, but that was just a real big deal, for those kids to.
And
to
when he was doing that talk, when he was presenting that book, he had like a parade of children coming by, the chorus and the orchestra is playing, singing the, songs of praise, and the books are being handed to this line of children. And the Watchtower said the children clutched their gift to their chest because they realized how great the gift was they were given in the last few months of this system. Because Rutherford, after his 1925 prediction failed, predicted 1942 was going to be Armageddon.
I didn't know that. He died in 1942.
Yeah, he died in January, so it was for him, but the rest of us just sailed right along.
Yeah. There's so many things that have changed, and I don't know. It's hard to realize that you get baptized into an organization with a certain amount of belief systems that you end up needing to agree with in order to become baptized in this organization. Yet there's so many people that have gotten baptized 20, 30 years ago, and all of the doctrines, if not at least 80%, have changed, Yep. So everything has become old light. Go ahead.
Everything I studied is now apostate material. The 1968 Truth book, the Aid to Bible Understanding book, it's all apostate material now.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to a GW friend of mine, and I said, I think I need to talk to an elder. And he said, why? I said, well, I have a question. I said, when I got baptized, 1970, it was in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I said, but people who get baptized now, since 2019, I think it is, the Father, the Son, and God's organization. Right? And he said, because back in the 80s, they changed it to God's Spirit-directed organization.
Yes.
And then in 2019, they cut the Spirit out. Now it's just God's organization. I said, so.
Interesting.
Yes, since the baptism oath is a legal thing, it's not a spiritual thing, it's a legal thing. Legally, is my baptism still valid, or would I have to rebaptize under the new oath? And that's when he said, can't have you stop by my house anymore.
Yeah. Like, that was the wrong question, sir.
Well,
You may leave now. You may leave now.
question, right? It's a legitimate
It's a good question. Yeah, it really is. It really, really is. And I'd like to speak about PMOs too, because I know we haven't talked about this before, but there's a lot of PMOs out there. And I just, if you're a PMO, I just want you to know that there are so many of us rooting for you. And I know that sometimes a PMO is considered like they just should get out. Okay. But I understand that there are lots of reasons why they are choosing to stay where they're staying, and either feeling obligated because of the family that's there. I think some I think some stay in because they'll lose all their family, but then I think there's also a portion of some stay in because they want to keep an eye out for their family, like they don't want to abandon their family to be dealing with everything. So yeah.
The people in the chat seem to like my question. Gabby, Jocelyn, and Bob.
They like your what?
The question I asked my JW buddy.
No, that is a good question.
I say all the time in regards to the PMOs, I say all the time, if the Watchtower ever stopped shunning, that there would be a massive exodus, like all at once,
out of
the organization. Because I think, so many, especially the born-ins, they know nothing else. All their friends, all their associates, and their families, would be shunning them. And that is a huge thing to have to deal with. So, but I think, I was PMO probably for the last 7 or 8 years I was in the organization. I was still there. I was still going to the meetings, and I was still doing my talks. I wasn't pioneering anymore, but, I was still giving the talks. I was still going out on service, but I was questioning everything that I was learning, so mentally I was out, physically I was still there. And PMOs, now, yeah, it would be so good if they would just stop the shunning. But I think that because we have so much information available to us now, we have the YouTube, we have all the various channels there, and you can go to jw.org and look up a lot of the old stuff, although they do block access to some of it. But if you can't find it on jw.org, you can find it, on other websites.
Such as JW Facts.
JW Facts, yeah. And I've even found a couple of other sites that are more, they're more like worldly sites, but they're just like archives. There's an internet archive that has just about everything, that's ever been printed by the Watchtower. So, it's all there if you can find it,
Okay.
And we didn't, like, when I was questioning stuff back in the 70s, I had to go to the library, either the library in the Kingdom Hall, and we didn't have a very big library, but yeah, I either had to be looking through those books or looking at the ones in the real library. But now we've got the luxury that we could just sit there with our mouse and do a few clicks.
Yes.
And, oh, hey, there's the June 1879 Watchtower. Cool.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of PMO. I think that might be why we're seeing all these articles and talks on jw.org about unity. Because there are so many PMOs in existence, that
Yes.
the governing body realizes that there's a large percentage of witnesses who don't really buy it.
Yeah.
It seems to me
And
if they want unity, let people leave.
see, that's the thing too. It's as though they're being held hostage.
Yeah, it's extortionate.
Okay.
You're,
Yes, it is extortion.
if you don't
And
do what we say, we're going to threaten you with harm. That's
yeah,
extortion.
and okay, we're going to threaten you with harm. And the fact is usually the the people that you're going to lose, that's your family members, you were the one that ended up recruiting them, right? So it's really a dirty trick. I'd like to remind people on what freedom of religion says, and this is under Article 18 in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This is freedom of religion, which is what the organization goes to all kinds of courts and uses for them to have their freedom as a religion. Okay, but I also want to mention that you as members also have freedom of religion as well, and that's from the United Nations, actually. That's where you can find your Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And Article 18 says everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. This right includes freedom to change his religion or belief, and freedom either alone or in community with others, and in public or private, to manifest his religion or belief in teaching, practice, worship, and observance. So in the middle of this, it actually says, this right includes freedom to change his religion or belief. So under freedom of religion, I'm entitled to be an apostate. I'm entitled to change my belief. And so this mindset of you're going to get punished, isn't that going against my human rights? When the consequences are so horrid. Yeah, that needs to be brought up, and I don't know who to bring it up to. But if I've always heard that they're disrespecting our human rights, but I think as Jehovah's Witnesses, we have no idea what our human rights are, right? So let me just say, it's at the United Nations. You can look it up. I have a library card too. It's really easy to get.
The only rights Jehovah's Witnesses care about is their right to be able to preach.
Yes, that is so true. And they.
Go ahead.
I was going to say that yeah, that's what they go to court with. Freedom of religion, and there's this thing coming up right recently, the anniversary of this one certain city or area where Stratton versus so they fought for like ever to be able to preach in this area, where this area was like they didn't want people coming and soliciting. But yeah, that's going to be something talked about a lot lately, because they're very proud of this 20th anniversary, because after going to court, and they took it all the way up to the Supreme Court, which if you can find it, and I did find it one time, it might have been in the C-SPAN archives, when they finally went up to the top. It's funny. It's really funny. It's worth a listen to. But so they ended up getting the right to preach there. They don't say no for it. Like, they don't take no for an answer. They take it as far as they can take it to be able to preach.
And they do that for just about everything. They had a case earlier this year in, I want to say, Denmark, It was either Denmark or the Netherlands,
Mm-hmm.
but it was about the blood issue. There was a witness who had gotten injured, and he told them that he didn't want blood, and then he passed out. And while he was unconscious, they administered blood because they said that in an unconscious state, he was not able to make an informed decision about whether to have blood. So, from a medical standpoint, they could justify it. And the Jehovah's Witnesses took him to court, and it went all the way to the Denmark or Netherlands Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the hospital. That, yes, they were protecting the life. They had the right to do that. So that was a huge defeat for the Watchtower. Once you lose in the Supreme Court, once you lose in the Supreme, there's nowhere to go.
Okay. You can't appeal that.
Right. And I think last year, the American branch actually tried to get a case before the Supreme Court. And I forget what the particular case was, but the Supreme Court refused to even hear the case. And so it's like, no, we're not dealing with that.
Yeah. Kim and Mikey. Kim today, which by the way, today is I don't even remember the date. I can look it up here. Today is Saturday, June 18th, 2022. What did you say?
My time zone, it's Sunday the 19th.
That's right. It is the 19th where you're at. I'm over here in Southern California, but our show started on the 18th, and then we'll go into the next day. And so I wanted to timestamp this because Kim from Kim and Mikey, she did a video today about some things that you'll see about. Anyways, it talks about the case that I just now brought up about Stanton or whatever, and a few other things like what they're going to be using. Like they're going to be teaching some lawyer stuff. Like the organization will be teaching lawyers, and Richard Hendricks, or Robert Hendricks, he's in this video and welcoming all these different people, including governments. And I'm just looking at that going, I can't even believe this is even happening. But like they're going to be some kind of helping lawyers out. Now, what I also noticed was, and I took a screenshot of it, so I'm going to go to my screenshots, because what I'm talking about now is the link to this thing that Mike and Kim were talking about. And what I noticed was, okay, here it is. One of the people that is featured is Joshua McDaniel. This is the link, and the link will be under Kim's video, okay? And what I noticed was that this guy Joshua went to Brigham Young University. Okay? Brigham Young University is the Mormon college. Okay? So, this lawyer team they got this Joshua dude that he's been practicing now for 10 years, but I think it's no mistake that also too in this, so you'll see Philip Brumley too. So they know that they're getting together with other religions and giving them education. So yeah, you want to check that out and get the information. I found that hilarious. Brigham Young University. They're working with a Mormon lawyer. They're not supposed to, whatever. I'm just like, so, whatever. They're always not supposed to and always do, right?
It's funny that you're starting to see the Watchtowers opening up a lot, especially for lawyers. During like last fall, they wrote a letter to all the congregations. They every month they send an announcements and reminders letter to the congregations, and they actually had one looking for experienced attorneys and paralegals needed. So they were begging, and they wanted these witnesses who are experienced attorneys and paralegals to come to Bethel and be lawyers for free. So actually, let me see. I'm going to try something technical here because I have the thing here. I want to see if this works.
You're going to see if the technology might work. It's always fun to experiment.
Do you see the? Do you see anything there?
I'm just still seeing you. So if you've shared something, I don't see it. Are you seeing it?
Okay. I'm not seeing it on the screen now.
Okay.
Stuff. I don't know what's going on.
I think with Zoom meetings, it's easier to share things.
Okay, never mind.
But one of these times, StreamYard, which is what this is, you and I can have StreamYard time where it doesn't have to be live and just experiment with stuff.
Yeah.
We can figure out how to do that.
Looks like it should be simple. Because there's a button that says share, and if you click that, it says share screen.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, hit share screen, and it shows me that. So let's bring up this. Okay.
What was the information that you wanted to share?
Yeah, well, it's on my computer.
Okay.
It's a file I have on the computer. I actually, in one of my videos, I don't know which video it is, I actually show the letter up on my video. That's why I have it in my computer. By the way, hi, Tammy.
Okay.
I see you. Tammy says hi in the chat.
Okay.
Hi, Tammy.
I haven't opened up the chat yet, so I'm glad you're saying hi to people.
Yeah, Tammy is, she's one of the first viewers to comment on my videos and stuff, and I can count on Tammy to be in my comment section every video.
That's so awesome. Hi, Tammy.
And there's our college student, Bob.
Right on. Yes. I was thinking about him today when I was finding out about this. The organization is going to help teach lawyers. I don't think they're like going to be a lawyer school or like they're going to teach lawyers everything. I think they'll be like part of some lawyer something, and that they'll get education, added education to whatever they're doing in lawyer school. I've even found go ahead.
They have so many lawsuits going right now, between the CSA, between families that are suing them because elderly people who die are, leaving their estates to the Watchtower rather than the family. They've got, the real estate issues going on. So, in that letter, as a matter of fact, that announcement that says, we're looking for lawyers who specialize in taxation, real estate, and litigation.
Wow.
So, yeah, it shows, They've put a couple of people actually through law school. You know, they had
Well,
Bethelites that like, hey, we'd like you to go to law school. Would you be interested?
they did this with Philip Brumley.
Right.
And then Philip Brumley sits there and says, it might be wise for you to be a paralegal rather than a lawyer. Might be wise for you to be a nurse rather than a doctor. You know, it's like, wow.
And Dave Sam says we can become a lawyer and learn how to lie to the Supreme Court.
Oh my God, yeah.
Warfare.
That's right. That is so true. You know, I'm learning some things about them, and one of the things they're notorious for doing is turning things in at the very, very, very last minute, on the very, very, very last day that whatever it is they're supposed to turn in gets turned in. And it's usually never the full amount. They'll send a partial amount, you know, and they try to get away with as much as possible, as much as possible.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's. I was keeping track of a couple of cases, and there was one where it seemed like almost every day the Watchtower lawyers were filing a motion to dismiss. You know, and so you're looking at the court files, and it's like, October 11th, motion to dismiss. October 12th, court says no. October 13th, motion to dismiss. October 15th, court says no. Weekend. Just they're insistent, you know.
Oh my God, yes. It's yeah. But I was happy to hear about McFree, who has his channel, Kevin McFree, with them not bothering with him anymore.
I was watching.
Say that again, please.
I was watching one of his videos today. Laugh.
Oh,
it was a video where it had the Wizard of Oz motif. You know, follow the yellow brick road to the governing body. You know, in the wonderful land of Oz. And when you get there, it's like the governing body is represented by a big Stephen Lethead, and he's talking all the crap, and then the curtain opens up, and it's just a guy there doing, oh, pay no attention to the guy behind the big curtain.
The curtain.
Yeah. And it was hysterical. Yeah, Kevin McFree. They tortured him for 3 years. Like, they were, first they hit him with a copyright strike, and, they tried, so that effectively took his videos off the air. But then they kept trying to push Google and YouTube to get his personal information. And Google and YouTube were like, no, we're not going to, you're not entitled to that,
Yes.
But they were after him because they wanted his personal identity to see if he was a witness and if, there was any way they could, expel him or whatever. And for 3 years, they tried in multiple courts in different locations, and they just kept, Fortunately, there was a legal service that kind of like took his case.
Yes, they were Yes,
right, and protecting him. And in the end, the Watchtower finally just gave up.
Yeah,
I guess it was getting to cost too much.
Yeah.
And I'm very glad because his videos are entertaining as hell.
They really are. So you were saying they got his videos off the air, but then now they're because there's quite a few on YouTube.
Oh yeah,
they're back on now. Yep. Okay.
Yep. Kevin McFree, McFree. Look them up. It's all Lego stop motion photography. It's hysterical.
It is.
He did one. He did one on the JW family up in Canada that got arrested because they actually kidnapped a neighbor, and they were all like naked in the van because they thought Armageddon was here, and they were fleeing to the Kingdom Hall or something. You know.
But this is because they drank tea.
Yes, they drank tea.
This is tea.
South American tea.
Something was in it.
Yes,
I looked at it like a month ago or something, and it said for municipal or whatever that word is purposes. And I thought, oh no, they're all hallucinating stuff. It was crazy.
Oh, I would have.
Oh my god.
Would have had tea like that back in high school.
Wow. I am now with nothing. Would anybody like to call in and join our conversation, or did you have something more you wanted to talk about, Pete?
Oh, I was just wondering what you thought of today's video.
Oh, I'm going to be looking at it again and again because I didn't grasp it, but that's okay. I did see in some of the comments, some people really liked it. Like really liked it. They liked that you were going in another direction that you haven't really been in lately, or that you haven't presented before, and they liked it. Yeah, and is that the kind of stuff you'll be talking with Jay Hess tomorrow with?
I have no idea. I haven't talked to Jay yet, so
okay.
I'm going into that totally blind. But this video today was, because of Rick. Last week when I was on the show with you, Rick and I kind of had a little back and forth on something. And rather than, dominate the conversation in the live stream, I just said to Rick, look, why don't you email me with like the scriptures, some particular scriptures that you want me to address, and I'll do a video. And that video today was the result. He sent me some scriptures that, there were like five topics, or questions or whatever. And he sent me like New Testament scriptures and Old Testament scriptures. And so I put the video together where I compare, the New Testament scripture says this and is supposedly quoting the Old Testament scripture. But when you compare the two scriptures, it's not really quoting, is it?
Mm-hmm. That's what you're bringing up, yeah.
Right. It's a video that I probably wanted to make for about a month, but was kind of hesitant because we're all born Christian, into Christian, religions of one type or another. And we have a lot of confirmation bias.
Oh, yeah.
So when you're telling somebody something that's different than what they've grown up believing, there's going to be pushback. Mm-hmm. So, yes. But when Rick sent me these scriptures, it's like, well, I have to do that video now, and so I did.
So have you had a chance to send it to him so he knows it's an answer to those?
Well, I was talking to him maybe Thursday or Friday because he called me to confirm the appearance on Jay's show. And so I said, by the way, I said the video is going to be ready for Saturday. I said, I know you're going to be on the air, but I don't know if I said it's going to be it's under a half hour. It's actually one of the longer videos I've ever made. Came in at like 25 minutes. So I said, but it's ready. So
very good.
when you get around to watching it, watch it. And then if you have any more questions or want me to go in depth on any of the answers or whatever.
That'll be good.
Yeah. But I tried not to be like argumentative or, assaultive or insulting. Just kind of tried to stay to the facts.
And you did well. You didn't use any ad hominem. You weren't you weren't saying, "Look, if you don't believe me, y'all are an idiot." You didn't use any of that.
A few times during the video, I said, "Look, if you're told that this scripture is about Jesus, your confirmation bias is going to allow you to, oh yeah, it is. But if we examine it, look at the context, look at the text, look at the, is it really?" And that's all I want. I want people to question what they're being told.
Absolutely. And whether or not they come up with the same conclusion that you
Right.
come up with,
Right.
having the mindset of taking scriptures and doing that with them
Right.
gets them out from under the whole teaching that only the governing body can interpret scripture, and we or the members have no business being able to look at a scripture and either interpreting it or doing like what you did today. Look, use these different mindsets to let it speak to you rather than having to only accept the governing body's definition.
And like a lot of it's not even interpretation, like all the scriptures, like from the New Testament, were scriptures that refer to, or quote, like the first scripture I think that I do in the video is Matthew 2:6. If you look up Matthew 2:6, everything is in quotation marks because he's quoting from, the Micah 5:2. He's quoting the scripture, but the words that he's quoting allegedly are not the words that are in the actual Micah 5:2. So it's easy to say, like it says in Micah 5:2, da 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 da. But when you look up Micah 5:2, go, wait a minute, that's not what it says. The words are different. That's not interpretation. That's different words.
So that's not even a true quote.
Right.
From this place that we were told it was from.
Right.
Wow.
There's a couple of times, that I'll actually put the two verses in question, side by side. Like, Psalms, I think it's Psalms 110:1 maybe. And then like the New World Translation, which in this particular case actually translated it right, said that like a lion, they are at my hands and feet. But the King James says, they pierce my hands and feet. Well,
oh wow, okay.
That's two totally different thoughts,
Yeah.
And so, that's what I was just pointing out, So, like I say in the video, I'm not trying to change anyone's mind. I'm just showing you, like, look, pay attention, If somebody up on the podium in front of you says, and this scripture prophesies, is proof that this scripture is talking about this, don't take their word for it. Look it up, read it, check it out.
And I think many witnesses don't know how to. So, yeah. No. Please go ahead.
Well, they think that the governing body is presenting them with spiritual food in the proper time. They would not think that they're being lied to. When the governing body says it is, you chisel it in stone. But
Yeah.
no. They've been wrong before about a lot sillier things than that. So
Correction. They have
you have to
clarifications. Clarifications.
you have to examine. And ever since I was a kid, I don't take anything for granted that anybody tells me. All little kids are always why. But when I would go why, and my mother would give me an answer, that answer had better make sense, because I wasn't going to stop until I got an answer that made sense to me. And that's the way.
Wow.
Yeah, and like when I look up the scripture in Luke in this thing, it's like it says that Joseph had to go to Bethlehem for a census because he's in the line of David, and Bethlehem was David's hometown. That's just stupid. Like,
It's not working.
28 generations between David and Joseph. That's like 1,000 years. Why would you go back to the hometown of somebody from 1,000 years ago? Do you know where your descendant from 1,000 years ago was born?
No.
And we have technology. We can look this stuff up. You can have that stuff.
Yes, we do.
Yes,
we do.
When I started researching it, I find that the Romans, when they would hold the census, would make the person return to their birthplace. So
that's what I thought too.
Right. Joseph only needed to go to Nazareth. He didn't need to go to Bethlehem.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Why does Luke say he went to Bethlehem? He either got his facts wrong or he's telling us a lie. There's only two possibilities.
Yeah.
And both of those possibilities would prove that his account is not inspired by God. You see, it's all connected.
Yeah, and it's a form of critical thinking is what you're doing.
Oh yes.
That'd be good. That'd be good to point out too, that you're actually educating people into critically thinking. Right. And when you just said a few minutes ago that you weren't going to let up until you got an answer, it better make sense. I'm over here going, wow, because by the fifth or sixth wow, my mama beat that demon out of me. There was no better make sense at my place. She's just like, you were a demon-possessed woman. It was not a good day. And I was very, very needing it to make sense, and then it was like, okay, I'm in that zone now.
It's got to make sense.
It does.
When my mother used to tell me about, her poverty stories growing up. Oh yeah, there was 8 of us, and we all had shoes, but we couldn't afford shoelaces for all of us, so we had to take turns wearing shoelaces. And I said, why didn't you just cut the shoelaces in half and then just tie the top couple of eyelets? Go to your room.
That's one of those, our child is a smart ass, and why didn't I think of that? It's like, go to your room, son.
Go to your room. This conversation is over.
Yeah.
So, what are you going to do? It's fortunate. Well, I'm on disability, so I have a lot of time on my hands. I have the luxury of being able to spend a lot of time to, do the research, to look these scriptures up, to look up other things. And it didn't take long. Like he gave me the scripture, for instance, of Luke 2, and I said, well, it's talking about Joseph having to go to Bethlehem for a census. So you go to the computer and Google Roman censuses, like protocol, and it says, yeah, the Romans, you would have to go to your birthplace, not the birthplace of an ancestor from 1,000 years ago.
Right. This is like you saw the inconsistency.
It's like, I mean, I have the internet, and I can't tell you where my ancestors from 1,000 years ago are from. Are
yeah,
you kidding?
That's
I wouldn't even
okay.
know
How about this? Yeah, I agree. Now, do you recall the story about David and how God got mad at him because he did take a census? Are you familiar with that story?
Yep.
Why was God? What was up with that? Why did God not like that, or why did that piss off? Why did that make him mad?
You know what's funny is
What?
that account in the Bible. It's found in two different verses. I think there's a one is in Chronicles. I think one might be Samuel. But in one of them, it says Jehovah told David to do the census, right?
Really?
Yeah, that Jehovah told him to do the census. But the other account said Satan inspired David.
Ah,
So my
wow.
first question is, does that mean that Jehovah and Satan are one and the same? Because,
Makes you wonder.
I mean, there was only that one census. So was it Jehovah or was it the devil? Mhm. And
Yeah, I
then
don't
if
know.
it's,
That's bizarre.
well, no, obviously it was two different people. Okay, then since there was one census that this is describing, and it's
Mm-hmm.
two different people, one of the accounts is wrong. Therefore, cannot be the word of God or divinely inspired.
Yeah. It doesn't fall under the inerrant word of God. All scriptures are influenced,
Right. But
or
David,
inspired.
because of the things he did that did anger God, is why he was not allowed to build the temple. The new
What did he
temple.
do that angered? What did he do that angered God, so
Was
that
there
he would
one
not be able
where
to build the temple?
was the one where he was lusting after a woman and sent her husband to war so that he would get killed?
Bathsheba. Okay, Bathsheba. Yeah.
Right. He did that. And
I figured Jehovah would be done with him after he killed his child. I don't. Yeah, I thought that would be punishment enough, but
so, I mean, David's punishment is that he was not allowed to be the one who would build the temple, which his son would
okay,
end up with. Well, if you look at the
right.
book of Psalms is literally a collection of songs and prayers, predominantly written by David, and those were to be sung and the prayers prayed when the temple would be built.
Oh, okay.
Right.
That would be for
So,
then. Okay.
well, I can't build the temple, but I can provide you with the prayers and the songs for it.
Wow.
And of course, father of the guy who's going to build the temple. Isn't it fun? Wonderful
It
things you can.
is.
Let's see, what is it? Yep. Yes, Bob.
What do you?
Bob. Bob Roberts was just pointing out that David was committing an act of voyeurism.
Ooh, that's true. That's true. Voyeurism. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You know what trips me out about David? There's one story that sticks in my mind about him. He wanted to marry one of Solomon's daughters, I think. And so Solomon told him to go to this village or town or whatever he had to bring him 100 foreskins, okay? Foreskins to gain this daughter, right? And David's so over enthusiastic, he comes back with a big old bag full of 200, dumps him there, and he gets the wife. It's like, dude, really? He had to go kill all these people to get their foreskins to gain this daughter. Wow. Wow. It just grosses me out.
We should all take an example from the level of persistence and motivation expressed in that story.
Okay.
That persistent man.
Okay. I'm missing something here. You're like you're like, yeah, he's badass. He did 200.
Bob Roberts,
but that is Bruce.
Bob Roberts, quoting Leonard Cohen, one of the 5 greatest songs ever written. Absolutely. The song Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen. One of the top 5 songs ever written. Beautiful, beautiful.
My son actually sings that song, which, yeah, it's mentioned in there.
Yep.
Yeah, my son can play it on guitar.
I heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord. You don't really care for music, do you?
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah. It's a very good song. I actually have that on a list of songs that I do want to learn. So now I'm inspired to do that this week. Say that again?
C, E minor, F, and G. Well, actually,
okay.
C, A minor, F, and G. And
do you play guitar?
Yeah. I play guitar, bass, keyboards.
Wow. I play guitar too, but I haven't done it in a while.
I used to.
And that's the way my son sings it too.
Yeah. I used to be a songwriter. I used to have a little studio in my apartment, and I would, write my own songs, record them myself. But the stroke took that away.
You know what? I was thinking the other day that you have not started off very many of your videos with a poem, and you used to do that. Like poems just came off the top of your head with ease.
Yeah, I did that because I wanted to try something different at the beginning of the, kind of like a hook at the beginning, but some of the poems were a little long and, like people who liked it would say, I like the poems, but there were a lot of people who didn't like the poems, because it's like, I hear poetry like I just shut it off. I'm like, well, you can just skip it. Like the poem is the intro, you could just skip ahead to where it says welcome.
Right.
Yep. I feel that if it was an actually inspiring hate from people, then maybe I just shouldn't do it.
Okay.
Yeah, plus some of the poems were starting to get a bit redundant. I was starting to fall back on some of the same phrasing and stuff, and so you know what? Just and just from a YouTube perspective, I was just trying to make shorter, more concise intros. Jocelyn
Okay.
said she likes poems. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll throw one in every now and then, just for old times' sake. Nothing stopped me
Okay.
from doing it, like in the middle of the video. So
I hadn't thought about that.
yeah,
People that can come up with poems is a talent that I find incredibly unique, and I've never been able to write songs. Um, so I think it's really amazing that you do write songs. So that's
yeah.
very cool.
It's like I took some music theory courses in school and didn't learn a damn thing for like 3/4 of the year, and then the last term of the school year, we had a student teacher from Berkeley School of Music come in. He was working on
Hmm.
like a music education degree, so he had to spend time actually like teaching a classroom. So this guy comes in
Okay.
and like within 45 minutes of listening to him, I just kind of like walked over to a piano and just all of a sudden it started. Like whatever he said just connected and clicked, and it
Made
was,
it click in place.
yep, I just like. So whenever I had free time, I'd be down in the music room banging away at the piano, or come home. Like as a matter of fact, when back in like '84, I was playing in a band, but I wanted to do something, on my own. So I took some of the songs that I had written and I gave them to a producer. I said, "Look, I want to record a 45. So I want you to pick 2 songs out of like these, and then we'll do a 45." And he picked like one song, which I think Rick actually played on the Posse Got Talent. Right?
Okay.
But he said, "Yeah, he says the other song, you just don't have anything that would make a good compliment to that song, like as a flip side." And I said, "Well, what are you looking for?" And he just kind of like started, gave me like a tempo that he wanted. I said, "All right, well, I'll go home and write something." I went home, picked up my guitar, and just kind of started strumming that, tempo, and
Hmm.
started just kind of like riffing off, random lines. And next thing I know,
Hmm.
all of a sudden, I said something, and I went, "Ooh!"
There it is.
There it,
There it
and
is.
so get the notepad, and it's like I just started playing a basic blues rhythm, and at that tempo, and start jotting down lyrics. And about 15 minutes later, I've got this song, and it was like, I played it for the producer. He goes, "That's going to be the A side." So it's kind of
Okay.
sometimes
That
the
was the
songs
A.
you write fast, sometimes the songs you write
Okay.
fast is the best ones.
Okay. I must say that Pixie gave me a message um, earlier this week that she really, really appreciated last weekend, and that we sang her happy birthday, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah.
Because I tell you what, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. We all had our, we were like all singing in our own key, whatever that was. Our timing was off. It was really bad, and it was so much, but it was so loving.
And
And
it's
she just
available
loved.
for replay on the Rick Farron YouTube channel. It was the June 11th Healing After Dark live stream. You have to watch it. Put in
Yeah,
the shameless plug for the replay.
yeah. So this is going into the just. How many people are in the chat there on YouTube? Can you tell? Is that where you're looking at?
Yeah, 12 watching right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're at about 2.5 hours. and I was thinking about going over to the chat room and letting the YouTube go, and then we can go into the chat room.
Yeah, I'm probably going to head to bed because, let's see, what time is it? Because in about 13 hours, I'm going to be on with Jay.
Oh, yeah, you do need to go to sleep. So can you just do me a favor and head over there to the, will you call in and then you'll call in and then I'll switch over?
Sure
Oh,
thing.
thank you so much. Okay, so
push that. I'm such a analog guy in the digital world.
yeah, so we're gonna so those that want to call in, that number is 727-731-6701. And that's where we can continue our conversation. And again, that number is 727-731-6701. Cool. So this is the Pasta Babe Linda James, and I'm getting ready to switch over to the phone. This is June 18th, 2022.
Okay, I'm on the phone.